Kai Wellness community. I'm Kelly Ayala, and I just got finished with a walk, and it's got me a little bit inspired to talk about the breath. So I want to introduce some breath basics because after all, the breath is the gateway to nervous system regulation. Now, quite often you might hear people say, take a deep breath, but what actually happens when you take a deep breath is that it's like drinking from a fire hose. So our body only has so much capacity to bring in breath. And when we initiate a deep breath, we oftentimes bring more than we can handle at one time. So it looks like this. And in that deep breath, it gives a subtle activation to our nervous system to kind of go, whoa, 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 what's going on? You might feel a restriction in the chest or the body, and it actually makes it a little bit more difficult to breathe than normally. So I want to share with you a little bit about an effective breath. And the way that I conceptualize an effective breath is modeled after smokers. Now, while I'm not encouraging anyone to start smoking of any kind, what's interesting about smoking is that there's a ritual around the breath. There's intentionality about how much breath we bring in, how long we hold the breath, and then of course the release of the breath. And it's this pattern and this ritual practice that I think makes the most effective form of breathing for nervous system regulation. Now here's the kicker. Once the nervous system is turned on or off, and in this case we're talking about turning off the nervous system, so the calming rest and digest stage, then you're going to want to restrict or hold back that practice breath and let the breath kind of return back to its natural pace and effort. So what that means is that when we think of a smoker or someone who has practiced or even tried smoking before, there's a valving process that happens within the lips, and it looks like this. So a little bit different than a deep breath, there is a smaller pathway for the breath to bring into the body. And this practice is a controlled breath. So essentially we're creating control about how much breath we bring in versus which is lack of control. So we're really creating a narrow pathway, a pathway that the breath can kind of smoothly and easily kind of slide down and into the body and move exactly where it needs to go. The second part of a smoker's breath is that the inhale is long and slow. If you've ever tried smoking before, you know if you inhale too quickly or without a valve, that there's a chance that you're going to burn your throat. I know this seems kind of silly to talk about, but it's the best analogy that I can think of. So when we valve the breath, we kind of create that nice little pathway for the breath to come in. And then there's a low and slow inhale. So this inhale is very intentional. We're very attuned and aware of the amount of breath we come in, the speed at which the breath enters into the body. Okay, so the inhale looks like this. And if you notice on this inhale, there's intentionality for that breath to move into the lungs, the chest cavity, and you notice that the shoulders stay kind of still. So most of the movement here is happening in my belly. There's a natural expansion of the belly moving outward with this inhaled breath. So this is the first part of the breath, which is the inhale. And then at the top of the inhale is this small little hold. And there's intention to the hold that whatever we're bringing into the body, we want it to be able to kind of be enriched and soak into our blood vessels and our cells in our body. So there's this gentle little pause at the top of the breath. And then on the exhale, there's a low and slow, sexy exhale. So when we're smoking, there's this kind of elusive, kind of magicalness about watching the breath as it gently leaves the body, and it's kind of really sexy and exciting to see what happens to the smoke. So on the exhale, it's not a we're just not collapsing the breath and allowing the breath to just kind of leave the body really quickly, but it's nice and controlled. So every single piece of the breath when we're talking about someone who smokes is very, very intentional. From the valving process to the low and slow sipping inhale, to the gentle pause at the top of the breath, and then to the long and slow and sexy exhale. And the exhale just might be even longer and slower than the inhale is. And then at the bottom of the exhale, there's this nice, gentle little pause of kind of emptiness. And there's this allowance of being with emptiness, and that it's okay, because we know that the breath, there's an invitation for that next inhale with whatever we're smoking at the time. But for our purposes, we're just imagining what this would be like. And so once we reach the top of the inhale, soft hold, and then a nice long and slow sexy exhale. Gentle empty. Inhale. Gentle hold. Long and slow, sexy exhale. And this, my friends, is the most effective breath for down regulating the nervous system. I hope you enjoy.